All right, I had to come back for a part two of the At Work on Purpose experience that I just got back from in Cincinnati. There was no way that I could stuff all of the goodness and richness that happened in 48 mere hours, not even full 48 hours, but it was so profound. I had encounters with the Lord through, again, business oriented experiences where we had someone allow us to take a pause between every time someone spoke. And in that pause, you would write down, what is the Lord saying to you based on what they said to you? And I think often, and myself included, I take notes, like wild notes. I'm a note taker, a rampant note taker. And I can take so many notes that I'm so just listening to what they're saying that I'm not listening to what God is saying to me through them. And I thought it was such a transformational activity that the room was actually really uncomfortable with, because it seemed there was, again, five females, I would say, and maybe 70 men. And so that woo woo, as she said, is not something that they practice. Even the host was like, I have a pause and I have a stop and a play button. I have no pause. Like, it's just, I'm either sleeping and dead silent, or I am running. I am going on the Energizer Bunny. I totally get that. But practicing the pause and rest and Sabbath has been such a huge part of my testimony since reading John Mark Comer's The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, which I highly, highly recommend to every leader who is listening to this call. It is unbelievable. Again, it's The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. And so the pause was something I welcomed. And when that happened, I was able to encounter Christ day in and day out, minute by minute. Actually, it was like hour by hour every time a new person would come up to share. And so much so that I had a throne room experience later in the day when she invited us to really dissect the words that he was saying over us, to find the themes of everything that we were writing down that he was speaking over us, then to share them with other people, but to see, like, where is Christ in this conversation, and what are the objects that are being represented in what it is that he's speaking to you. So I'm saying all of this and you're like, wow, that's pretty wild. I don't really know exactly what she's saying, but it's an activity I'm totally going to roll out at some of my future events. So you guys will just have to come and experience it firsthand, because I loved what the gal Missy did. I just thought it was really profound. And I know it's connected to a specific, like, methodology that she shared later in the evening. So I mentioned on the last episode, part one, if you haven't listened to it, go back to that episode, because I just data dumped all of the information that happened in the first portion. But there's so much more that I get to share with you guys now. So the first one was this idea of organization versus organism. And I think specifically and strategically about the body of Christ. And I think about how God breathes life. And when he breathed life into you and me, it was not to be, though it says to be the church, it was not to be stagnant. It was not to create hierarchy. It was not to develop rules and systems that would push us back in to the very thing that Jesus came to speak against, which is the Sadducees and the Pharisees and the religiosity of what had happened to the church at that point, what had happened to, it wasn't Christianity at that point, but his law, what had happened to his people, the Israelites, right? They had gotten so doctrine oriented that they didn't even recognize the very word when the word was standing in front of them.